What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 81 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy these podcasts, please share your link with your friends. I'd like to give a big shout out to our new listeners from Uganda. That brings our total to 50 countries. If you'd like to support our work with people caught in the snare of addiction, homelessness, or incarceration anywhere around the world, click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Addiction at Your Workplace. Welcome back to episode 81 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Addiction at Your Workplace. Today's episode will be another group session, so I want to give a big welcome to the same guys in recovery from the U.S., South Africa, and Australia who take part in this group. Again, I'll be keeping them anonymous, but I'll be repeating the answers they gave me as if we're having a live group meeting. So guys, here's the topic for this week. A lot of people spend more time at work than at home. How has your work or your workplace been an asset or a liability in your recovery? How have you dealt with the need to share or the need to hide your past addiction at your workplace? Ike, you're the newest member in our group, and you also happen to have the shortest time in recovery. So how have you dealt with your addiction at the workplace? Well, David, I'd like to share because I feel I'm definitely an asset to the business as someone coming out of addiction. But I realize I could become a liability because when I'm using, I just function like a machine and not a person. And my personality is necessary in the work that I'm doing now. So if I slip up and use, I become an unreliable worker, which makes me even a bigger liability to my boss. And I've dealt with this several times in my past, and I found the best way to deal with it is to just tell the truth to your boss and to realize that I don't want to lose people because of my addiction. Wow. Good start there, Ike. Charlie, can you identify with Ike's situation there? Totally, David. When I started my recovery, I was in a job that I'd been in for 20 years. When I went back to work following an accident, it was really hard. I felt like a large elephant in the room every day. It was like everyone knew I was an alcoholic and that's what caused the accident. I physically couldn't do certain things anymore, and if I was to complain about it, like I was being judged in a negative way. So I wanted to leave that job for a long time before the accident, and now it was just getting bigger. But my 12-step support group helped encourage me, and with my head on somewhat straight after around a year sober, I went for it. It was good for my depression because I was able to start over and I felt wanted. I felt I had a fresh start in a new job. However, I really wasn't ready emotionally. It was really hard. Trying to work a recovery program and making so many new relationships, and it was phone call after phone call to my sponsor, prayer after prayer, and then issues with people during the workday. I'd embraced recovery at that time, and I was very open about what I was going through. But this was a place of business that sold retail food and considered themselves top-notch at taking care of people and selling excellent everything, really. And as a person in recovery and dealing with a leg disability because of it, I was looked down on terribly and treated with complete disrespect. There were some people who were nice and helpful, but overall my time there I felt completely discriminated against. I hated going to work most days. I loved the work. I really did, but not how management treated me and how my coworkers punished me every day. Often people would refer to my, quote, mental illness. They would tiptoe up to me and ask if it was okay, like I was some kind of diseased animal. It was really weird. Being in the industry 20 years and being treated like I couldn't put a bunch of bananas on the shelf correctly was just one of many issues I was told that I had. I was someone who managed entire departments of 30 plus employees, and now I was literally being treated like I couldn't count to 100. Some of it was my ego in the beginning. I didn't know it was a lesson in humility. The program helped teach me this, and in time, with counseling and sober support, I worked through and faced these issues biblically. I stood up for myself, left the dream job for a job making $10,000 less per year. During COVID, I chose to run in a new career direction where I could help people in addiction, help them fight the stigma, and try to help them save their lives. For the first time, I'd love what I was doing. If you love what you do, it doesn't even feel like work. It all started with a prayer and surrender to God's will for my life. Then I had to be obedient and take a leap of faith. So I just thank God for his perfect and pleasing will for my life. Thanks a lot, Charlie. Ben, you're sort of working in the recovery industry also. How was making others aware of your addiction playing out in your employment? David, to say I'm grateful is a huge understatement about where I work and how it relates to my recovery and my ability to share my story. I've been on the worship team and a part-time staff worker at my church for 11 years now. So I've had ample opportunity to share my story and have even had a couple documentaries filmed about sobriety and my time in prison. Usually once or twice a month, I have the opportunity to speak in some kind of setting that refers to recovery, sobriety, or just a topic that would bring motivation that's usually tied into what God has brought me through in my past. That being said, I almost feel like I work or have a vocation that's founded in my recovery story. So there's never a week that goes by that I'm not blowing the dust off what God has brought me through and sharing it with someone who is where I used to be. I mean it when I say I'm too blessed to be stressed. Thanks so much. And Harry, I saw you nodding along, so what would you like to say? Well, David, for me, the workplace has been my saving grace. I'm not in the addiction industry. I'm in the sales industry, but I enjoy that work. I'm honest and upfront with my employer right from the interview stage, and I've always been open about my addictions at the workplace. For this reason, I've been able to assist many a hidden addict and alcoholic at the workplace. My management even uses me to speak to the employees openly and offer advice and assistance confidentially to anyone who needs help. Sharing my past experience has been beneficial to others around me at the workplace. It was a real eye-opener to see so many other people who were stuck in addiction and still hiding it. For me, it's been a blessing to share this part of my life, as there's clear evidence it's helped push others to stop before they walk down my path of real disaster. Sure. Thanks, Harry, and I know that's an encouragement to others. Dante, what do you think about this question? Well, David, my workplace at first was a place of very little support regarding my addiction, but I also didn't let them know about it because of them not being people who I think would understand. So God led me to a new workplace within 3 years of my conversion to Christ, And this new workplace is filled primarily with Christians, and within whom God gave me a mentor that I've been praying for, and he's been praying for me. I only realized it really, say within the last year or two, that my pride had kept me from seeing this for quite a while. I've shared my past addiction with a few close colleagues. We don't talk about it too much, but they are aware and at times of addressing purity and uprightness within our organization. It's come up as a means of caution, discussion, and stewardship. I feel like those close colleagues look out for me, and we have each other's back. We have each other's best interest at heart. It really is a tremendous blessing to, even if you just have a few friends at work who are your colleagues, but you can talk openly about your addiction, David. Eddie, what do you get to say today? Well, David, they say that you leave one addiction for another. It could be a good or bad addiction. I somehow think I got addicted to my work. You see, I was a good salesperson in my addiction, but just became a gun in my recovery. I took a sales position and mastered it to become my profession. A lot of people respected me for being able to stop my addiction, and even more that I'd done it cold turkey. They wanted to know how. So I started a morning prayer group at work, and I taught them about Jesus and his love for us. I used my testimony, which had a lot to do with my workplace, to influence and educate my colleagues and staff. I didn't have too much to say. People reached out for me and asked me the questions, because management would use me as an example of how people can come from almost nothing and end up in being the champion that I had become in Christ. You see, I used my position and my past to bring about awareness of the consequences of your choices. Wow. Good stuff. I really appreciate that, Eddie. And Gary, I saw you nodding with that whole choices thing. So would you like to close us off today? Yes, David. You see, my choice now is just about work in general, because work has interfered in my recovery, and that's what I'm still trying to establish. So I've decided to let the work go for now so that I can focus completely on recovery. You see, David, without recovery, any endeavor I embark on becomes meaningless and poses a danger of relapse, so I'd lose everything anyway. Shaw. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your sharing your experiences of how to be able to stand in the workplace, whether you're open to share or not, and how your recovery fits into the workplace environment. Thanks again. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's words from our group. If you're looking for a group like this, please message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.fromatod.org, and click on the contact page. And some of you may be saying, wow, I wonder if we could get a group using these podcasts or the curriculum at your workplace. And I just want to say I'd be more than happy to help get that going for you guys. And tune in Monday for our next episode. As always, stay safe and stay strong.